Good afternoon, and welcome to yet another episode of the EQ Lunch and Learn. My name is Muchamlingo, and I am your host this morning, this afternoon, depending on where it is that you are logged in from. We're delighted to have yet another conversation about a very important topic. And today we're talking about loving the life that you live, loving the life that you live. We want to reignite our passion now that we're in the second half of the year. And in this episode of the EQ Lunch and Learn, we're going to really explore how we can live passionately and eat life out of a big spoon. This episode is designed for those seeking to rediscover their calling, embrace their deepest passions, and create a fulfilling and joyful life. As always, I have a fabulous panel who are going to help me to have this conversation. So, each of them as we kick off, I have Sharon Irungu, who's here with us. She is a multifaceted individual with a passion for empowering wealth and live abundantly. She serves as the Making Sense brand ambassador at Centonomy, where she strives to inspire financial independence. As a mental wellness enthusiast, she believes in prioritizing self care. She enjoys trying out new recipes. Maybe today she'll tell us some of her favorites. She loves to adventure through travel and reading, and she often spends her lunch break between the pages. Staying fit is important to her, and she finds solace in nature, frequently visiting Karura Forest to enjoy the greenery. Sharon, it's so great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Mocha.
Awesome. If you'd like to connect with Sharon, you can find her on LinkedIn, and we have shared her page. We also have with us a gentleman who really does know how to live or eat life with a big spoon. Joe Alando has had an illustrious career, mainly in customer experience, having worked with leading organizations in Kenya, including Safaricom, Equity Bank, MultiChoice, and Twiga Foods before joining Optiven as the general manager. His passion and commitment to customer experience excellence saw him ranked the best customer experience manager in the northern region at MultiChoice Group in 2019. He was also pivotal in setting up the customer experience department at Twiga in 2021. He has a track record in nurturing talents, developing leaders wherever he's worked. He's passionate about education and leads a community initiative in his village, Nyando, in Kisumu County, that has seen over 50 students successfully go through high school and gain a college education. Joe, it is great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Musha. Good afternoon. Thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon. It is nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to connect with Joe, you can also find him on LinkedIn. We've shared the link you can find. We have a third panelist, Beverly Chahonyo. I'll introduce her now. Unfortunately, Beverly has been called into an urgent meeting, but she is committed to still join us and share. So, Chahonyo, born and raised in Kenya, holds a BA in International Relations and Diplomacy, an executive MBA, and a certificate in human resource management. She is also a certified executive coach. She has over 15 years' experience as a dedicated HR professional, specializing in strategic talent management, leadership development, and workforce planning. Beverly is currently based in Rome, where she works for WFP. She's an author of Hugs from the Father and Mindful Evolution. Both books are available on Amazon. She is a podcaster, an orator, and a motivational speaker. As a clarity coach, she helps individuals find purpose in life, career, and finances. Proudly Kenyan and a passionate advocate for Africa, Beverly is a devoted lover of God and family. So I'll share her link when she joins us. You will be able to say hello, but at least I would have given you her bio in the meantime. So we are ready to have a conversation. And one of the things I told my panelists as we started is that this is a chat amongst friends. We want to talk about how to live life fully, regardless of the circumstances. And I'm really happy to have the panelists I have because I know that these are lovers of life. So, guys, let's dive right in and have our conversation. So, I want to ask you both, and Joe, I'll start with you and then come to you, Sharon. Passions are what drives us to enjoy our daily lives. Our passion is really the fuel that enables us to wake up every day. Can you share a personal story of how you discovered your passion?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Musha. Thank you so much. Um, I don't know if I discovered my passion or my passion discovered me or we discovered each other along the way. But I would say that it has been a series of life events right from my childhood, looking back into how I was brought up and the environments that I grew up in. I can trace back my passion for what I do, be it customer experience, the bigger passion I have now for sales, to as early as when I was young. When I was about class 3, I had an uncle in the village, I would say, who was in sales then, and somehow I just admired his life and how he was doing what he was doing, and I drew very close. And I remember one day a life transforming event is when he came to the village with a vehicle that was branded Cosmos Pharmaceuticals. I can still remember it, and he gave us a lift to school, and the joy in just riding in that pickup, and knowing that this is what people do when they are in sales, inspired me. So I would say the life that I lived, someone around me inspired me. When I was in high school, I have a wonderful teacher, God rest his soul in peace, that discovered the potential in me around sales, around commerce, around business. And one day he called me for a one-to-one talk. I was a Form 2. And he explained to me what it is to be a salesperson, what it is to do marketing. Himself, he was not. And he guided me into something called Bachelors of Commerce that I was hearing of for the first time as a Form 2 in a village school whose name is like a poem, Otieno Oyo in Nyando in Kisumu. And I heard about this big thing called BCom, and I was like, wow. And I ended up in Lower Kabete, the University of Nairobi, doing Bachelors of Commerce in marketing. And when I was there, I discovered that indeed I am meant for this, and I started doing things. I was selling stuff, little stuff, some doormats. I was doing calligraphy for pay, and I just realized I can sell a service. I can convince people to buy, and that passion kept growing. But interestingly, for the first 20 years of my career, I did not directly do sales. I was in customer experience. And I think that was the making of the real me, because everything in life is about people. And so the first 20 years of my life, I was not directly selling. Then at a point in time when I was working with MultiChoice, I found myself more drawn to sales. I was so close to the salespeople. I remember one day my line manager asking me, "Are you in customer experience or you are in sales?" And I said, everyone must sell. So whether you are the CEO, you are in customer experience, and that's how I started nurturing my selling capacity. And I think, Musha, you met me now when I was at Twiga. I was head of customer experience, but selling bananas like my life depended on it. People ate Twiga bananas like it was some medicinal value. And that's how, again, I think I got discovered by the leadership in Optiven, and bang, I found myself now leading proper sales teams as a general manager. So I would say, looking through my life, it has been a series of events of myself and my passion finding each other. And here we are. Thank you, Musha. Sharon, are we on?
Yes, I am. I can't hear Mucha. Can you hear Mucha?
No, she's freezing a bit. She's speaking, but we can't hear. Musha, wake up, person. Something is not right with your network, so it's hanging a bit.
As she takes care of the technical hitches.
Yes, you can get.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear your story, Joe, because what is interesting from this story is actually I studied Bachelor of Commerce in Marketing at Multimedia University. No, in Multimedia University. MMU Multimedia in Rongai. Yeah. So I see that we have something in common.
Wow.
But for me, when it comes to discovering my passion, I've always been a driven woman. So I've always wanted better for myself, even when it comes to academically. I was always the A student. I was always ready to pursue, the big thing so that I can be able to give myself a good life. But there's a twist into this story, because when I truly discovered my passion is a few years ago, and in 2019, unfortunately, I fell into a really bad depression, and because of how strong-willed I am, I never thought that people like me can be able to face that kind of challenge. So I had othered, these kinds of thing. And I remember I was going through a very. Much, are you here with us?
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, so I was sharing about how I discovered my passion, and it's a bittersweet type of situation. So I was saying that in 2019, I fell into depression. And for a long time, I've always been the strong person. And because of how I've known myself, I used to other it. I used to think that, this is things that other people go through, not someone like me, and it was a very situation, and it went on for months and months and months. And I'm one of the few people who were really grateful for COVID happening. No, I know that there were many challenges that COVID brought, but it gave us a chance to stop, and when I was able to stop, I realized that there are things that I wasn't doing right that was actually messing up with my wellness, So it was relationships that were not going right. There were so many things, and also I also came to realize that I was also not taking care of myself, because at that time I never used to eat well, sleep well, because I was doing 2 jobs at the same time, and so I never prioritized wellness. And by the time I was stopping, and by the time COVID was happening, and it was giving us that break just to connect with yourself, as we were going through a hard time as a globe, I took that opportunity to actually rediscover myself. And so it got me to get into thinking, who is Sharon, and what is the ideal kind of Sharon that wants to exist. And even upon further introspection, I was able to connect into my passions, and I discovered that things, even like the kind of work that I do, and I realized that I needed to pivot even when it comes to work. The organization that I was working, or the field that I was working at that time, needed to change. So it was all about discovering the things that makes me me, and the things that actually brings joy to my life, and I was able to incorporate that into my day-to-day living. So I think for me, it was through that dark time that actually gave me the opportunity to actually discover what my passions are and how I would like to live my life moving forward. Yes.
Wow, that's just powerful stuff. Thank you very much, Sharon. And it's interesting, as you said, bittersweet, right? That it's something that was challenging that enabled you to really look within and think about what your passions are. Let me stay with you, Sharon, and continue and ask you a follow-up question. I'm imagining there's a young person out there who's listening to you and thinking, oh, maybe I'm where you were at that time. Or maybe I just don't really know what my passions are. And I'm finding that life has become a chore, right? I just go to work to get paid. So as young people try to navigate their lives, what are some practical steps they can take to really discover and pursue their passion?
Okay, I could go first.
Yes,
when
please, Sharon. Yes, yes.
It was
That
yours.
is you.
Okay,
That
okay,
is
okay.
you. That is
Okay.
for you.
When it comes to figuring out what your passions are, there's something that Oprah Winfrey said, and it always stuck with me. She said that the purpose of life is to figure out is to live a life that reflects the truest, highest expression of yourself. I'm gonna repeat that again. That your purpose in life is to live a life that reflects the truest, highest expression of yourself. So as an individual, you also need to figure out what is the truest, highest expression of me, and what does that actually look like. It means that you need to ask yourself, what is the ideal Wangare, what is the ideal Mucha, what is the ideal your insert name. So and there's also a book that I read, it's called The Pareto Rule. It's the 80-20 principle, and it says that few things are important, many things are not. Because I feel like sometimes we just spread ourselves too thin, we focus on so many things, and from the 80-20 principle, what it says that 80% of the outcomes that we get is from the 20% of the input that we give. And even just for example, when you look at your contact on your phone book, you'll realize that 80% of the time you talk to only the 20% in your contact list. It's your 5 best friends that you're always talking to all the time, all the time, all the time. And when I read that, it realized me that few things are important, many things are not. And as an individual, you need to ask yourself, which are these few things that are most important to me? And you write a list on what those are and begin to actionize on those things that are incredibly important to you, and those things that actually reflect the truest, highest expressions of yourself. So figure out what are your core values, and are you living your life in line with those core values? Yes.
Fantastic. Say that. Can you just repeat that?
Can you hear me?
Sorry, Osha, we did quite get you.
Can you repeat the quote by Oprah Winfrey again? The quote you shared. Just repeat it for me again, please.
Yeah, that the purpose of your life is to live a life that reflects the truest, highest expression of yourself. The truest. So even from the word true, it also denotes authenticity. Are you living a life that is authentic to you, or are you living a life for people pleasing? And it also reminds me about a quote that I had somewhere about the 5 regrets of the dying. It's a book that was written by a nurse who used to work at the palliative care. And one of the greatest regrets of the dying is that they lived a life that was not authentic to themselves. They lived a life for people pleasing. It was always about others. That is the number one greatest regret of the dying. So for you, you need to figure out what is the truest, highest expression of yourself, and are you living in line with that? Yes.
One of the things I always say is, you provide your lunch and we will bring the learning. And already the learning is dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping. Thank you very much for that, Sharon. And I think it's so important that we are living authentic life. And yet so often, as you say, Sharon, we're living our life to please other people. We're living our life based on society's expectations rather than what is true to ourselves. And so we're living a borrowed life. Joe, what are some of the common misconceptions about following your passion, and how can they be addressed?
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Musha. And I want just to add something to what Sharon has said around living true, because today life has a lot of filters, and we live to impress. And like you were saying, you get shocked that someone actually died of depression, but they were looking okay because they were impressing. But
Yes.
the truth is the highest form of you. Some of us want to be real, but real is not true. True is true. So I like that quote, and thank you. So looking at misconceptions, and some of the misconceptions about following your passion, I would probably say the biggest one is fear that when you depart from the norm and follow your heart, you may fail. I call it fear of change. There are many people, I would say, that their passions are beckoning, their passions are shouting out, their passions are waiting along the corridor for them. But because of the fear of what if I fail? What if I make a mistake? What if things don't go right? They are stuck in unhappy lives, unhappy careers, unhappy businesses, full of regrets, like what Sharon is sharing. And thankfully they are still alive. They can do something about it, and not wait and then Anas writes a book about the regrets of dying. But they are not bold enough to step out because of the fear. And sometimes it just comes back to that issue of impressing people. What will people say? I left a great career and went into this. Your passion to go and do volunteer work. You left a great career. What if I fail? What will people say? So the biggest hindrance, and for me, the biggest misconception is when you follow your passion, what if you fail? But the second one that is important, and we quote it a lot, is that people like to say that passion, when you find your passion, is when you find something that you can do for free. I want to debunk that misconception. In the current modern world, passion pays. I know, Musha, you are here because of passion, of what you do. Passion actually pays. Doing what you are most passionate about can be the most rewarding life you can live, even in monetary terms. Because people buy people. People buy energy. People buy feelings. When you are about to position your passion well, money, interestingly, will follow passion. Interestingly. And this is how great people, I can put my own CEO, Dr. Washuri. Dr. Washuri of Optiven, very passionate about authentic real estate. And Optiven is today a big brand. We have awards upon awards, and those do not mean that we are doing it for free. We are making money, but we are following on a passion of a man who said, I want to do real estate right. And if you look at him, if you watch him, if you check him out, he does it with when he's selling, you think he's selling to you pizza or something. I mean, it's his land we are selling, but there's passion in it. The energy, the conviction, and the drive that you put in what you do translates even into gains. So the biggest misconception people start with is so passion is that thing you can do for free, and then people shy away from stepping out to follow their passion by the mere thought of what if. And someone said that people transact in trust but pay in cash. People transact in trust. They first of all see you, they see your believability, the passion with which you do what you are doing, and then they give you their money. They trust you first, then they buy your product. And if you don't love what you do, can I shock you? No one is in the business of having you do it for them. I will repeat that. If you don't love what you do, no one will love you doing it for them. But if you do what you do with the love and with the energy, enthusiasm, and passion, people will pay to sustain your passion, because passion actually pays. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I love that statement. In the current modern world, passion pays. Guys, if you're tuned in, I know you will agree with me that we picked the right panelists for this conversation. Because even as they are speaking, you can see and hear their passion for life. I love that statement. In the current modern world, passion pays. I have a question here from Eunice. Eunice, it's great to have you online. Eunice wants to know, Sharon, the book that you quoted, the one about the nurse and the dying. Can you share the name of the book if you do know it? There's a question from Eunice, and Eunice, it's great to have you. If there's anyone else who's online, well, I know you're here. Say hi to us so we can say hi back to you. And if you do have questions, we're happy to engage with you. So Sharon, do you know the book? Do you have the name of the book?
Yeah, it's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Fantastic.
The 5 Regrets of the
Dying. The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Thank you very much. And the biggest regret is that they did not live an authentic life. Sorry to put you on the spot. Can you tell us what the other regrets were? Do you remember?
I remember that first, but I'll have to Google the rest. Yeah,
that one
talked
was
about
really,
yes.
All right. So the 5 regrets of the dying. Yes. So thank you very much for that, guys. I think we're having a really great conversation. Now, as we are in the second half of the year, some have lost their zest for life. They've lost their zest for the year. You know, we start the year with such energy. We are motivated. Many of us write our, the goals that we've set for the year. We set these, New Year's resolutions. But by June, we're exhausted, right? And we've lost that oomph. We've lost that motivation and that excitement to keep chasing after our dreams. Perhaps things haven't quite worked out the way we had planned. We're not where we had planned to be. And so we've lost our motivation. We've lost our mojo. What are some common barriers to keeping that fire of passion burning? So what are some of the things that really cause that fire to burn out? And how can we keep the fire burning, right? So what are some of the things that cause that fire, that passion to kind of fizzle out? And how can we keep that fire burning? To the person who's really felt like, oh goodness, I'm done with it here. What advice would you give them? Joe, let me stay with you, and then Sharon, I'll come to you on the same question.
Thank you, Mosha. Thank you very much. There are two things I want to say before I talk about the barriers that I can think about in my mind. As you are explaining half year and one half is gone, number one, great. Someone says, if you do what successful people do, you'll be successful. If you do what great people do, you'll be great. Most of us watching this are probably working in businesses or are running businesses. And in those businesses, we have regular reviews, either quarterly, monthly, half yearly. But we never want to consciously review our own life. That is something you can consider. Number two, what I wanted to say is, New Year is a great time to set out goals, to fuel up your passion, to set what you want to achieve. But I have good news for us. The next best time is on a Monday. New Year, don't miss a Monday. And you have 50 of them, Musha, 50 Mondays, at least 50. So you have 50 chances to keep refueling, to keep reigniting your passion that you had in the beginning of the year, so that you are not doing one cycle of an annual review. You are not setting up new things. New Year is a great time to set out your goals. Monday is the next best, and you have 50 of them in a year. What are the common barriers? One of them, I would say, is the company you keep. When we are doing our New Year resolutions, for example, we write them alone. You may share with someone, but they're intrinsic, they're your goals. But along the way, you gather around you people that are going the opposite direction. People who are anointed with the spirit of discouragement. They have a double anointing to discourage you. Instead of looking for Barnabases in life, the sons of encouragement, around you people who are discouragers, who when you say you want to do something, they tell you, you want to learn dancing. You say, I want to learn salsa. The first comment that comes out of their mouth is, with your two left legs. And there it just dies. So barrier number one is the people you keep around you. They suck your energy. They blur your vision. They are quick to criticize and to tell you how much you cannot instead of how much you can. So what you can do in the second half of the year is do an audit. The people around me, how much are they helping to spur up? You know, I like quoting the Bible. I'm a believer. The Bible says, spur up one another to good works. How much are they stirring you up and challenging you to go for it? To go for it. Do you have that friend that can face you in the eye and ask you, so you are this new year, you said you are going to start your master's. Where are you? You said you are going to start baking and culinary skills. Where are you? So the second half year, you can do your audit, check on the company you keep. Good company is good. Bad company spoils good morals. So get people that cheer you up, people that encourage you, people that believe in you without lying to you, but they genuinely look out for your good. And they cheer you up, but they are also there when you sleep to hold you and help you keep going. Number two, I would talk about the pity party. Yes, we are in the second half of the year. Maybe things did go well, and you are losing your drive. But don't wallow in pity party. I'm in sales. Sometimes you miss targets by miles, but you don't keep there. Rise up, wash up, and keep going up. Rise up, wash up, dress the part, and keep going. The future is the real classroom. The past is something we learn from, but let's yearn for the future. Let's live in the present and look forward to the future. There's always a brighter future. Don't be paralyzed by analyzing your past failures in life. And maybe just a third one, then I give Sharon to chime in, is low self-esteem. And you will be shocked, Musha, that this, when we were growing up and when I became an adult, I used to go to preach, to teach, to talk to high schoolers. And the topic of self-esteem is a recurrent topic in high school. But you'll be shocked that self-esteem and peer pressure issues are even bigger in adulthood. I was talking to a friend of mine, I hope they're logged in, and they told me sometimes they feel adulting is a scam. Self-esteem, self-worth is one of the biggest barriers to people pursuing their passion. The feeling that you are inadequate, that you cannot do it, I can't talk, and then you confess it. Me, I can't talk in front of people, and there's something urging you to learn public speaking, to learn to train, to learn something. But there's a voice that is lowering your self-worth and telling you, you can't. That feeling that you are less than the others, kick it out in the second half of the year. Today, we have 8 billion people in the world. Guess what? You are not one in a million. You are one in a billion, in 8 billion. And you are the only one unique who can do what God wired it to do. Sharon started by saying, find your purpose. You are the person. So the company you keep, pity party, and low self-esteem. Come on, rise up, leave a mark. I keep telling myself, the people who have done it, the Obamas, the Mandelas, they don't have 3 eyes, they don't have 4 legs. They are people like me. I can do it. This guy from, can I say this? From a village that is not even in Google. When you go with Google, you reach the nearest town, the Google starts going around and losing you. You can do it. Thank you.
Wow. I don't know if I'm still audible, but thank you so much.
Yes, yeah.
I'm struggling great. It looks like my network is really struggling today. Beverly, it's so good to have you here. We had introduced you, so everyone was expecting you. They know who you are. We're talking about what are the barriers? What are some of the things that cause us to lose our mojo? And this is a question to everyone. So we'll come to you. We'll allow you to continue settling in. Sharon, your thoughts. What are some of the common barriers to keeping that fire burning? And how can you overcome them?
The first thing that I'd want to talk to you guys about is neglecting yourself. You need to realize that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if at all you're in the second half of the year and you have not been taking care of yourself, then that's very problematic, and it's going to pour out the fire or the passion that you have. And what does caring for yourself look like? It looks like different things for different people. Like personally for me, even from what you had read about me, like keeping fit, like you work probably 8 to 12 hours in a day. What are you doing to be able to pour into your cup? Like for me personally, I never start my work day without working out. So that looks like going for yoga, it looks like going to the gym, it looks like morning runs. And sometimes if at all you don't even have the strength to exert yourself, it looks like even just going for a morning walk. So what are you doing to be able to fill your cup? And it's because you're not filling your cup that you feel the burnout or the lack of passion. These things looks like gratitude journal. Like for me, I keep my gratitude journal just beside on my bedside. So immediately I wake up, I write what are these 5 things I'm grateful for, because it's also very important to move through life with an attitude of gratitude. And especially right now where Kenya politically a lot is happening, so it's very easy for you to feel disheartened or discouraged. But there are in the midst of everything that is happening, there's still things to be grateful for. There are your friends to be grateful for, your family to be grateful for, a roof on top of your head to be grateful for, physical wellness to be grateful for. So there are things that you can be able to be grateful for. Another thing that probably you're neglecting is you're maybe a chronic people pleaser. So if at all you allow people to just walk all over you without you be able to draw boundaries and enforce them, then that also becomes problematic. So ensure that you are actually filling your cup and that you're not neglecting yourself. And just to echo what Joseph had said about low self-esteem, about self-limiting beliefs, and this also comes to the conversation of scarcity mentality, abundance mentality. What does that play a role in your wellness? So if at all you have a scarcity mentality, you cannot shrink into greatness. So it is important that you're cultivating a mentality of abundance, a mentality of I can do it. You need to ask yourself, why not me? Because I feel like we've gotten to a society where there's cancel culture. You've gotten to a point where you're even canceling your own self. You realize. So ensure that you do not have limiting beliefs and that you have an abundance mindset as you steer ahead into achieving the goals that you have. You can do it, and I believe in you. Yes.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness. What a powerful conversation we're having. So, Beverly, let me come to you. We're talking about some of the things that can hold us back, some of the things that really just pour water on our passion and put out the fire that we have. And how can we address it? Over to you, Beverly.
Okay, thank you. And I'm so sorry again that I'm late. Life, and but here I am. So I'm really excited.
We understand.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you also to my fellow guests, Sharon and Joseph. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying just listening to you guys. I would say that there's a couple of things. Number one, who are you? Do you know who you are? I think a lot of times in this day and age, we're chasing what we see out there. We're chasing clout, we're chasing followers, we're chasing trends. Who are you? Have you sat down and had a meeting with yourself? Have you met yourself? Do you know yourself? Or are you so busy trying to be somebody else? There's no way you can chase a passion that is somebody else's and be fulfilled in it. And at the same time, unless you know what your passions are, unless you know what matters to you, what is important to you, what makes you happy, what makes you angry, whether it's injustice, whatever it is, if you do not know those things, then there's no way you're going to be able to present yourself authentically and to chase your passions authentically. Number two, where is your source? For me, I lean into my faith. So as long as I am grounded with my faith, then I have, despite what else happens. I heard Joseph talking about, you fail. Sometimes you don't meet your goals, but you get up. The thing that grounds you is the thing that will inspire you to keep going when you feel like you're failing or you're losing your mojo. And then finally, failure to plan is planning to fail. A lot of times we have not sat down and understood what it is we want to do. You don't have to know your whole life's plan, but understanding what you are passionate about, that means, meeting yourself, understanding what matters to you, understanding the things that call to you, that pull you, writing them down and having a plan to pursue them. When you get lost, when you get to the middle of the year and you don't know how you got here, what's going to happen is that you can go back to the original plan. Don't forget in the dark what you learned or what you heard in the light. In the seasons of light, at the beginning of the year when things are good and we are setting our resolutions and we are setting goals, in the middle of the year or in a dark season, it's very easy to forget those things. So once you've written it down, for me, again, I'll go back to the Bible, write your vision and make it plain. As long as you've written it down, you have something to refer back to. And then also talking about foundation, who do you surround yourself with? You are the sum total of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with? Because with our words, we create. And with our words, we destroy. So if you have people who are speaking destruction about you or around you, and they are just speaking negativity, believe it or not, I'll use this example. If Joseph is standing on top of a table and I'm at the bottom of the table, it's easier for me to pull him down than for him to pull me up. So it's easier for people to speak doom into your vision, into your passion, into your purpose, than for you to pull them up to elevate them to the place where you are. So if you have people who don't believe in you, I don't think you're in the right room. If you have people who talk bad about you, I don't think you're in the right room. If you have people who do link you to your past or your failures, I don't think you're in that right room. And it's a very hard conversation to have, but it's a very important conversation to have. The higher you rise, the closer you get to your purpose and your calling, the smaller your circle becomes. You can't have, as we do on social media, 2,000 close friends. Those are not your close friends. Those are people you associate with. So understand who's your inner circle. Again, and this is the last point, my last example, I'll go back to the Bible. Jesus had the one he loved, the 3 he was close to, the 12 he discipled, the 70 he sent out, and then the world. Please understand who your 1 is, your 3 are, your 12 are, your 70 are, and then everybody else is AOB. That's where I'll stop for now.
Wow.
Guys, I feel like saying amen.
Amen.
I feel like we're having church right now. Thank you so much. And I love the way the 3 of you, your thoughts are so interlinked, right? Because those that you started us on this journey of really think about who is around you. I really agree with everything. Some of us need to really look carefully at the people around us and maybe shift some of the rooms that we are in, right? Because the current people around us are not going to support us. We're not going to achieve our goals and live a life on purpose as long as we're surrounded by those naysayers. And I really like what you said, that we must remember in the dark what we knew in the light. I think that's so powerful. So thank you very much to all of you for your great input.
Mucha, let me say something small.
Yes.
When Sharon talked about gratitude, something came to my mind. I remembered I have this high school teacher who was my teacher and a friend, and is still my friend to date. She's about to retire. I think she's retiring next year. And there's something she used to do that when the results were out and our subject is the best, she was teaching agriculture. Of course, there is the Thanksgiving and award ceremony. But on the day the results are out, she would walk to the nearest supermarket or shop and buy a big card for herself and address it to herself and say, "Well done, Sharon, you did it." So that if no one else does it, it is done. Self-appreciation. You must first of all appreciate yourself. Thank yourself. In the village, in the street, we say "Kurudishia mwili shukrani," but not that way. Just appreciating, standing in that mirror and saying, "I am my best version." You know what Sharon said, and I have done that in my own life. When I achieve something, I know accolades will come. I know trophies will come. I have a lot of them in my life. I know certificates will come, but the first one comes from me.
Our comments are on fire. You guys are sharing comments. It's so good to see you all. Thank you very much for joining us today. Shout out to Catherine.
We are losing you a bit, Musha. Tutanunulia Musha bundles. Yeah, network just happens when you
Back.
least
My
expect
network.
it.
Yeah, hopefully I'm back. Can you hear me again? My network is really
Now clear.
I'm like, honestly, of all the days, today had to be the day where my network is unstable. Anyway, I was saying a shout out to all the people online. And we have someone who's sharing with us the 5 regrets. Catherine Mugo is sharing the 5 regrets. Earlier, we talked about the 5 regrets of the dying. So, regret number 1, as you said, Sharon, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. So, that's about authentic living. Number 2, I wish I didn't work so hard. So, to the workaholics out there. Number 3, I wish I had the courage. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5, I wish I had let myself be happier. Aren't those amazing? So these are the things people regret. These are the things people regret when they die. I think that's a book that's worth looking for and a book that's worth reading. Ambani Tyson, great to have you here as well. So let's continue our conversation. And Beverly, let me come to you. Excuse me. As an HR practitioner, how can HR professionals identify and nurture employees' passions within the workplace? Is there space for our passions at work?
Absolutely. I'm going to say this. I'm not asking anybody to walk out of their job. So let me put that disclaimer first. But if you are in a position where, or in an organization where your passion and your skills and your gifts and your talents, number 1, are not producing, so you're not using them. Number 2, are not appreciated. So you've tried and they're not appreciated or recognized. Number 3, do not fit. Even though I really believe that every one of us has something to offer, then maybe it's time to rethink, because it really is too little too late. That whole living in regret is not worth it, because at the end of the day, it's an organization, and unless it belongs to you and your family, somebody else is gaining from it. From an HR perspective, I will say this: look for how the passion of people align with the organization. Give people a chance to volunteer. Communication, communication, communication. And in communication, this is what I mean. From an organizational point of view, listen. Just listen, listen, listen. People will tell you what they want to do. People will show you who they are. Listen to what they're saying and then see how to merge that. Have engagement days where, I thought about this. You know how at the end of the year people do a secret Santa? Do a secret appreciation day, a secret feedback day, where once in a year or once in a quarter, everybody gets a name and you send secret feedback, but it has to be positive feedback. On this one day, we want positive feedback, because we lean too much into the negative generally on a day to day. So let people give positive feedback. That I appreciate Beverly because she knows how to speak. I appreciate Mucha because she brings people together. I appreciate Joseph because of how he sells. I appreciate Sharon because of her attitude of gratitude and how she pours into herself. So that's number 2. Number 3, do a skills matrix. And this is more from a technical point of view, but do a skills matrix, but include a tab for passion stroke talent, so that it's not strictly technical skills that you're looking at. It's what else do you do? I have a podcast. I write. I have authored a book. So those are the other things that I can look at as an HR professional and say, hey, why don't we start a podcast for the organization? And this person has that experience. Why doesn't she, help us set this up? Look at what people are doing outside of the organization. Give people a chance to lead. set up projects that are completely out of the box. And sometimes I think our fear is, oh my gosh, what if it goes wrong? Well, what if it goes right? And if it goes wrong, as long as it's not major enough to break the organization, take that risk on people. If you take a risk on people, people will pleasantly surprise you. So give people a chance to lead different projects, give different departments a chance to collaborate. And then I will go back to my first point. Listen, listen, listen. You ask and then you stop and you listen. Everybody will tell you exactly who they are through their words or their actions if you give them a chance.
Let me jump in and add something because that has really touched me, Beb. I worked with Safaricom when in its formative years under Michael Joseph, and there's a training that he did for us. Interesting, it was called a passion training, and we had 4 passions that we were driving: passion for results, passion for the world around us, environment. That's why Safaricom is big on environment. Passion for people and passion for the customer. But then through that, and I was reminding him the other day, I just sent him a picture of that, a block of wood that had those passions. So I just sent him a WhatsApp, and it was very interesting. But through that, we identified, like what Bev is saying, people's real passions. And we had this colleague who was with us in the customer care space, but was so passionate for the world, for people around. And she would volunteer her time and go, and she's not in the call center, she's in Kisi delivering water tanks, she's in Muranga washing children in a children's home. Today she, I think, is one of the senior managers in Safaricom Foundation. She really found her passion. So I agree with you, and I would want to say it is not the work of HR only. Every people leader is an HR. It is important, if you are listening to this, you are a people leader, you are the HR, the number one HR for your people. Help them identify and foster. And through that, even I could still borrow that Safaricom example. We were able to know the call center where I used to work was bringing in everybody, engineers, doctors, everybody, because it's the entry level. But when you open that door for people to express their passions, we found HR trainers, we found people for finance, we found people who could do M-Pesa. Some of them are now heads of departments, but they came in as call center representatives. Thank you.
I am really enjoying the conversation. I think the conversation is on fire. And I really like what you said around understanding what people's passions are outside of work and finding ways to incorporate those. I think that will really drive engagement within our team. So thank you very much for that. Joe, what role do leaders play in inspiring and guiding others to find and ignite their passion? So just thinking beyond this example you've given us of Safaricom, what role do leaders play?
Wow. Thank you, Musha. First, I hope people are thinking, who is the leader here? And I want to simplify. The leader can be the leader. It could be a parent. It could be you as an elder sibling. It could be you as a spouse. It could be as a pastor. It could be the line manager in the office. It could be a community leader. And interestingly, each of us watching and listening here, you are a leader in your own right. We look up to some people for leadership, and there is someone looking up to you for leadership, and it's a continuous loop of leading and being led, because leadership is about influence. So I believe there's one thing I had Dr. Kipngetich Julius say one day, that leaders are peddlers of hope. Leaders are peddlers of hope. So the first thing a leader must do in order to help people identify, nurture, and live their passion is you must always give people hope. Anyone that comes into your hand, be they a child that God has given him, a new staff that you have been given to lead and to nurture, the number one thing you must always do is hope, because hope is actually what starts to bring out that potential. And hope is a better tomorrow, the better version of you. I was talking to a colleague today when discussing life, and I was making a laugh by saying, when I was in college, one of my colleagues' friends came to visit me when I was married and told me, "You are never a husband material." So the people in your hand will never look it. But as a leader, you must speak hope in the lives of your people. You must paint the picture of a better tomorrow. You must help them see themselves on that big billboard of their lives as the hero, as the person who has become the better version. What Sharon said, the real authentic version of them. They may not look it now. So number one is peddle, sell, share, dispense hope, because everyone has a brighter future. Then number two, help to give opportunity to them. Speak into what you see in their lives. I'm a leader, I'm a father. I'm in that position. I consider myself a leader. I'm a father of two boys. And I have one younger boy who is so passionate about IT. He's in CBC, but he's so passionate about IT. My responsibility as a leader is, number one, to call out that in him. Keep telling him what I see. You are the greatest IT engineer this world will ever have. And then the second is to give him opportunities. Whenever I have any problem with my phone, with my laptop, he's my number one go-to person. And he tries and he figures out things. But the most important thing that leaders must do is to allow mistakes. Allow mistakes. Most great passions have been killed on arrival by how leadership, whether it's a father, whether it is an uncle who is an authority, whether it is your line manager, how that leader responded to a mistake that you made. In your PowerPoint presentation, many footballers have been killed because of the penalty they missed in practice, not even in the actual match. Many great singers the passions were killed by that one off-key singing in practice, not even in the actual orchestra or presentation. I can go on and on. As leaders, we must understand that mistakes are one of the most important steps in identifying and nurturing people's passion. No one ever perfected it without making mistakes. I want to stop it there for now.
I thank you very much, Joe. I know that you would add so much more if you had time. I just am really loving the conversations that we are having. Sharon, I want to come to you. How can young people navigate the early stages of their career to find roles that align with their passion? So when we started, you shared your experience and how you came about your passion and had to make some life changes as a result of being in a bad space, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think a lot of young people feel as though they have no choice about following their passion, right? Passions don't pay. That's maybe the narrative that exists. So what advice would you give?
The first advice that I would give is experimentation. Experiment. I started working when I got my ID card, and I have sold SIM cards, I've sold phones, I've worked for Pernod Ricard, I've sold insurance, I've worked in a cleaning and fumigation company, because at that time I wanted to start my own cleaning and fumigation company. And what did I do? I went and interned in a cleaning and fumigation company. There was a time I thought I wanted to be an entrepreneur. What did I do? I started selling a home decor store. So I've always leaned into experimentation. So as someone who you're looking to find your passion, it's just like your favorite food. How did you settle for that kind of food? You tried that type of dish and that type of dish and that type of dish, and of all those dishes you decided that this is my favorite. So even for you, when it comes to on matters passion, you need to experiment with different particular things until you're like, oh, this is the perfect fit for me. So I would urge you to experiment. And then the second thing I would want to urge you is also start early. If at all you have a younger sister, if at all you have someone young, like as I've mentioned, I started working when I was 18 years old. So that also gave me such a long time to kind of test trial and error method, so that by the time that I'm right now in my late 20s, and I know what exactly I want to do with my career, because I did so many things, that it was trial and error until I got to where I am. And then another thing that you also need to do is to say yes. In the beginning of this year, I read The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, and it spoke to my soul, it spoke to my heart. And even when I got this opportunity to speak into being a panelist, and I remember just Stacy quickly reaching out to me, and it was the quickest yes I have ever said. Yes, because this is something that I am very passionate about. So when it comes to finding the things that will align to your passions, also say many yeses to figure out what exactly fits into the things that you want to do. Because I'm very big on mental wellness, emotional well-being, because of my past. So when this opportunity came to talk about wellness, I was like, yes, it was the quickest yes that I said. So ensure that you're saying as many yeses as you possibly can that aligns with you, and also that you are experiment. And even what Joseph has said, that allow even room for mistakes, because sometimes you want to get into things being perfect. And when you even think about the greatest footballers, so they also made mistakes as they were figuring out. So it's not just they are not an overnight success. It's a 10-year journey that makes them look like a overnight success. So also be patient with yourself as you're going through life. And even as I touch on even as I talk about what I touched on in the beginning about my bittersweet moment, and as I was transitioning, I also realized that I did not give myself grace. But that at the time that I was falling into depression, I was 23 years old, and I felt like a failure. All the things that I thought that my world would have been were not it. And I'm like, then what's the point? What's the point? But sometimes it's also being open-minded about life. Sometimes life just steers you into this direction, and sometimes you understand life from a point of hindsight. So it's when you look back, you're like, oh, now I can join the dots. I see how that and that and that has actually led me here. So be open-minded when it comes to matters of life. Say yes to opportunities, because that is how you meet different people, you get different opportunities. So be open-minded, say yes to opportunities, and ensure that you're experimenting as many times as you can, so that you can be able to know where do I perfectly fit, and then from there now you can pivot accordingly. Yes.
I love it. Thank you. Experiment. I think that's so powerful. And you gave a really good example. How do you know what your favorite food is? You tried out a few different foods until you identified what your favorite was. Beverly, I want to come to you. When we started, I asked a question around how you found your passion, right? And Joe and Sharon were able to share. So before we continue, I thought it would be good to hear from you how you found your passion, and how you came to the realization that you were aligned to your life purpose.
Bev, unmute.
Bev, you've muted you're muted.
Sorry. I will say this. Your passion is very closely linked to your personality. So for me, I'm a people person, have always been. I would bring all my friends home. I've always been that person. As I've grown, I stumbled into HR, but like Sharon said, I sold clothes in the mall. I sold real estate. I've worked in 2 embassies. And then I stumbled into HR, and I realized this is where I wanted to be. But I wanted to be here because I am a people person. I want to watch people thrive and grow. I want to help them unlock their potential and see that light coming on in their eyes. And then I continued to learn myself. And every season, ask yourself, what is the assignment for this season? Because we're not just here. Nobody's here by mistake. Oh my goodness. So many people go through life thinking, I'm a mistake. I'm not worth it. I'm not. Mucha, I think you know me. If there's 2 things I say everywhere I go, you are loved and you are enough. You are enough. and you were created for a purpose. So what is my assignment for this season? And I continuously learn and grow. I take courses. I have a certification coming up this weekend, and then I got certified as a coach, and I'm now a clarity coach. Over and above that, I talk. I love to talk. I love to talk. And then I realized I'm gifted at talking. I can talk till the sun comes down, till the cows come home. And I love words. My voice is in so many different facets is a gift to me and to the world. And I'm not shy about saying that. So I write. I've always journaled. My first book came out of me journaling and then putting all that into, hey, this is a book. So I do that. And with talking during the pandemic, I was just like, there's so much darkness, and I started a podcast. So lean into the things that make you happy, because those things that make you happy will unlock the gifts that you have that are unique to you. And let me say this, because again, we live in the era of overstimulation with information. Just because Mucha can do it and Sharon can do it and Joseph can do it does not mean they can do it the way Bev can do it. How I do it, how I was created to do it, is how I will do it to perfection. We live in a world where we feel that there is not enough pie to go around. Believe it or not, Joseph alluded to, there's 8 billion people on this earth. Are you telling me that all of us are looking at the same 20,000 people to follow us, or 1 million people to follow? If there's 8 billion, there is enough to go around. So don't be intimidated. But for me, I kind of just leaned into the things that I am naturally gifted in. And then I have had amazing support. My parents were just such amazing people, and they really encouraged me to reach for the stars. My siblings and my friends, I'm so blessed in that area. People who believe in you, and they keep building you, and they feed you, and they give you constructive criticism as well, so that you can improve. And then, my spiritual leadership, my pastors, my mentor. Lean into greatness, and greatness will welcome you. And then finally, a lot of times we are premature in announcing our greatness. First of all, you should never announce your greatness. Somebody will announce you. Somebody will introduce you to the world. Somebody will open a door or present you on a stage. By the time you're doing it for yourself, I don't know. There's how much credibility is there. I can walk around the streets of Nairobi and say that I'm the president, but I'm not. That's the reality. So there has to be a system that will announce you. But even as you learn and grow in that system, please understand this. Do not speak until it is time to speak. Number 2, you have to earn the right to be heard. Just because you want to say it doesn't mean the world is ready to hear it. But as you consistently build yourself and grow and do and continue to speak and continue to write and continue to sell and continue to inspire, people will begin to pay attention. And at a certain point, your message has got to be consistent. I can't be at a certain age jumping from one thing to the next. If you do not stay consistent, you will not know if it can work. You will never know if it was meant to be. I will stop there. I hope I've answered the question. I've gone round and round and round, but I hope I've answered the question.
Yes. You have. Thank you so much. I know I'm let's stay with you because we're talking about organization, right? The question is, what can human resource implement to create a culture that supports and encourages passion? I hope I'm still audible. Bev, I want to stay with you.
Bev, unmute.
Sorry, here we go. I'm going to go back to first to the organization. There is responsibility on both parts, but to the organization, what are your goals? Are they clearly communicated? What are your values? Are they clearly communicated? What is your culture? Is it clearly communicated and lived from the top down and from the bottom up? If those things are not clear, it doesn't matter what I come in to do as an HR manager, because if you have a culture that is confused, an identity that is confused, why would I want to follow you? Would I want to join you? Why would I want to give my talent to you? So that's number one. Make sure that they are clearly communicated. Goals and objectives, your culture and your values, and they are lived. Number two, having an open door policy where people can speak. It doesn't matter where you are. The greatest ideas are often from not quote unquote the top, but from amongst us. We can be sitting and having a cup of tea, and we start to talk about something, and we see the solution because the problem impacts us. So if I am, for example, in customer care and I'm always answering phones, it is not somebody sitting in an office somewhere who's going to have a conversation with Exco who's going to feel my pain point. Where the shoe pinches is where the solution will be found. So have caucuses and forums where you ask, what are your greatest pain points? And how do you think we can address them? What are some of the ideas that you have? And bring people in with their ideas, because everybody brings value at a different point. I talked about communication. Please communicate. Bring people together and make sure that people understand that they are valued. If I do not feel valued, I will then in my there's a term called quiet quitting. I'll come and I'll get a paycheck every month and I will sit and warm a chair, but I will not add value to the organization, which means I will devalue the organization because I feel that the organization has devalued me. So if you do not show people that they are valued, if you do not appreciate people, then you're going to lose the best talent. So things like employee awards that are not picked by the management, they are picked by people, and have the categories also suggested by the teams. Don't be so rigid that this is how things are done, that this is the playbook, the rule book, and we must follow it. Because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people, and people have families, and people have passions, and people have hurts. And every day we tell, I've heard people being told, leave it at the door, but I can't leave it at the door. It is who I am. So allow people to express themselves. And then finally, document the growth of individuals. Make sure that they know that there is a path, that they have a career path, and that they can grow, and communicate it and ask them, what else could I be doing to support you? How do you think this can fit into our goals? Because a lot of times we've thought about things so rigidly that as we grow, we forget that the more people come in and the larger we grow as an organization, the more ideas are coming in, the more solutions are coming in, the more authenticity that they are bringing to the table. Give people a seat at the table, and again, they will surprise you with the meal they present.
Love it. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying the nuggets you shared. Even as I struggle with network, of all the days, today has to be the day when the network is stable. But it's all good. I have amazing panelists who are keeping the conversation going. I'm not even necessary. They can continue. So I want to just if you have a question for my panel, please share the question in the comments and we will answer it as we start winding down. I can't believe that we only have 15 minutes left. It's amazing how quickly an hour and a half passes. So if you have a question, please just share it in the comments and I will pick on that question. Sharon, I want to come to you and ask you, what advice do you have for someone who feels stuck in an unfulfilling job and they're not really sure about making a change? Because you talked about the fact that you pivoted. So what advice would you give someone else who's feeling like, I hate my job? It's not aligned with my passion in any way. It's unfulfilling. I'm literally just treading water, if that. What advice would you give someone who feels that way but is just not sure about how to make a change?
Thank you for that question, Mucha. The first thing is to honor your feelings, that you feel dissatisfied, that things need to change, that you're not throwing it at the back of your mind and they're like, I'm going to deal with this later, or I'm just going to persevere. You only have this one life to live. There's no an alternate universe. It's only this life of the living that you get to live in. So ensure that that the time that you have here is well accounted for and you're doing the most that you have with it. So the first thing that I would say is have a transition plan. If at all you are at a workplace or you're doing work that does not fulfill you, you need first to understand what work fulfills me. What is it about this role do I not like? So that even when you're pivoting to another role, that the elements that you're leaving here, you're also not transferring them to the next role. So you need to ensure what is your transition plan. What does it look like? Let's say, for example, you're an accountant and you want to get into the creative industry. You want to become a baker, So what can you do on the side? That could look like you're baking cakes for your friends, anniversaries. Then you become the go-to person. You can even sell those cakes in the workplace. So you also need to figure out what is your transition plan, because we are adults, we have bills that needs to get paid. So you just can't leave things, unless you're a trust fund baby. So if I don't, that's you, good for you. But for us, yeah, the greater majority, yeah, you need to have a plan. The next thing that you also need to do is to pivot accordingly. And right now, even in this organization, like my friend Ruby, she did computer science in school, and right now she's the head of the entrepreneurship program. She's a wonderful marketer. So what are you doing for you to be able to actually pivot? Just because you made that decision when you're 18 years old, and took up that course, does not limit you, and that does not mean that this is what you need to stick it out for the rest of your life. No, you can become something totally different. You can work in an industry that is actually totally different. So for you, you need to figure out, how do I pivot accordingly? That would look like taking courses in line with your new passions. That would look like taking, if at all it's volunteering work. Is there maybe pro bono work that you could do so that you can actually gain that experience, so that it can actually help you to pivot accordingly? And the third thing that I'd want to talk to you about is, if at all you've been in that role for a long time, and allow me to talk about money matters, because I serve here as Centonomy, as the Making Sense brand manager, and that is the conversations that we have about proper financial wellness. And there's this thing that we call an emergency fund. It's that kitty that you have, so that it can be able to cushion you when things get hard. So we've heard of people who've taken career breaks. We've decided that for 3 months, I'm taking a career break. But maybe at that time, you want actually even to focus on other things. It could be that you want to focus on motherhood. You want to take a Euro trip. It could be for many people. Allow you to pivot, and sometimes pivoting looks like stopping. And sometimes stopping is viewed as unproductive. Rest sometimes is viewed as unproductive, but rest is very productive. Taking breaks is productive. So if that is what the kind of angle that you feel that you need to take, then planning accordingly around that. Yeah, thank you for this much. Yes, it's Bev.
That was, first of all, that was
Yeah,
phenomenal,
yes.
Sharon. Let me just add that again, failure to plan is planning to fail. So if you want to transition, how long is it going to take you to build that emergency fund? Are you going to have enough money to sustain you for 6 months and still have like 6 months worth of salary or whatever you need for your expenses, but still have an emergency kitty somewhere? Number two, find somebody in the industry and ask questions, shadow them, because maybe you really didn't want to be a baker. Maybe you were meant to be something else. Maybe you were meant to invest in somebody's baking business. Maybe you were not the one meant to be, doing the actual baking. And you don't find that out unless you've spoken to somebody who's really been through it. And then finally, stay true to your passion. Don't do it because it is trending. Don't do it because somebody else did it and was successful. Don't do it because somebody feels that this is what you need to do. Don't do it because it is that time, I'm getting old. Don't do it out of desperation or fear, because that is the fastest way to make the biggest mistake of your life.
Wow. Let me add one point to that is
Thank you.
that maybe
So much.
uh,
I want to
Bev
come to
could
our
have
last
mentioned.
question. I can't believe it's our last question.
Just one
Guys,
comment.
where did
Okay, and she's dropped. Okay.
Just
So
add what you
one
got.
comment I wanted to add to our viewers is, as you transition, live well. Live well. Please
Yeah.
live well. Many people have burnt bridges. As you are going to start your baking factory, the first customers will be your former colleagues. The first referrals will be your boss. The first, I mean, so I've seen people mess up because of how they leave organizations. When you think you have struck a jackpot and you got it, and I'm out of here, and you're gonna see me no more again, and life humbles you. Anytime you're transitioning, live well.
Yep. Yep. Mucha, are you here? Yes, you are.
She's here, but
She's
the
here.
network is, we
yeah.
can't hear her.
What the last question was.
So the last question is about emotional intelligence. I don't know if I'm audible now.
Yes, yes, you are.
So
Yes.
what I want to know is how can emotional intelligence help us in identifying our passions and integrating them to achieve a fulfilling work-life balance? You know, as an EQ practitioner and emotional intelligence fanatic, I always have to bring in the EQ element. So how can EQ help us as we're talking about these transitions, as we're talking about understanding ourselves better and everything we've discussed today? So how might emotional intelligence aid us in identifying our passions and integrating them to achieve this fulfilling work-life balance and live life on purpose, you know, immersed in our passion? So that's our final question. And as you answer the question, you can also give us your parting shot because, yeah, unfortunately, the time is coming to an end. So shall we say, gentlemen, first, go first and share your response?
Fantastic. That's okay, and I'll be very brief. I know I enjoyed the time slot for Beverly. Yeah. So emotional intelligence is about how you understand yourself and you relate to the people around you. And I think that's basically all of us. We have just been talking about life is about people. Life is about human beings. Life is about how do you relate with people. And when you are emotionally aware of yourself and your reaction to stimulus and people around you, then even through people, you can identify your passion. There are people that will speak into your life and tell you, man, you are just the best baker. You are just the best salesperson. You are just, and we see in you this particular thing. So how you relate with the people, I just want to say life is a people business. So know yourself and understand how you relate with people. You don't live in a vacuum. And even businesses, in Optiven, we say people buy people. Your network is your net worth. But how do you relate and add value? And when you live life, emotional intelligence will help you to know you should seek more to add value to people than seek the value you get from them. And then automatically the value from them will just come through. Thank you. I pass the baton to Sharon.
Thank you. I received the baton. Okay, so so from EQ, what I got is the capacity to be aware, to control, and to be able to express one's emotion. And so it's about awareness. They say that awareness is the greatest agent of change. So how do you even become aware of the passions that you have? So it requires that you're even spending quality time with yourself. And as you spend quality time with yourself, that looks like meditation. That is how you get to have those conversation on a one-on-one basis. That looks like journaling. Like for me, 30 minutes before bed, I ensure that I actually put my thoughts down, and I've been able to piece things together just by putting them down. So that has been very beneficial to me. But the most important thing is having the courage to action. So once you have figured out that these are my passions, if at all you do not do something about it, then you won't live that fulfilling life. So have the courage to actually pursue the things that you'd like to pursue. I remember last year, given the fact that when I grew up in a financially challenging household. So we never ever went on any holiday. And I used to tell myself, I want to go to Mombasa. I want to go to Mombasa. I want to go to Mombasa. So I just collected my few coins over the months. And last year in April, I went for my first solo trip in Diani. I was like, if there's one thing that I need to do, if there's one thing, if I drop dead right now that I'd regret is not actually being able to see the ocean and enjoying myself. And I decided that I'd go, and I went solo as a woman. I didn't bring friends. I wanted this to be my experience. So even for you, have that courage. They'll probably, you'll have fears, but ensure that you are able to mitigate those fears and just plan accordingly and plan ahead. And sometimes when it comes even to the journey of life, sometimes you won't see the whole staircase. You just have to trust by just putting that one foot in front and then the other foot in front. They say that a journey of 1,000 miles starts by just taking that one step. Which is that one step that you need to take, and are you taking that step? Because if at all you're not putting that one foot in front, then you will not live that kind of life that you have envisioned for yourself. And it is your birthright to live a good life, to live a passionate life, and to live a life that is worth loving and worth falling in love with. Yes, so that's my take on that.
Wow. How do I follow that? First of all, I think you guys are so amazing. So thank you for just speaking from a place of authenticity. I would say that unfortunately, hindsight is 2020. When you look back is when you see the picture clearly.
Yes.
And a lot
Yes.
of times we do not take the time in the moment to appreciate where we are. Wherever you are, I am 100% convinced is where you're supposed to be. I'm 100% convinced, because even in that moment, in that situation, in that job, in that relationship, you have something to learn. You can take something out of it. So it's very important to pause and appreciate that everything that has happened to you until now has been a part of your journey. Do not speak out of turn. Be slow to speak. Observe, listen, write it down. I'm huge on journaling as well, Sharon. So write it down, read it, understand it. I had a mentor once who taught me that when you're angry, don't write it down. You can say it if you are really, really bothered to say it, because once you write it down, imagine it cannot be deleted. So if you want to say it, say it. You can always go back and say, and this is what they used to tell me. You can always go back and say, no, I didn't say that. Although that's dishonest. Own your mistakes, own your words, own your position, stand by it. But when you write it down, there's something that solidifies it. Oh my goodness. There's something that solidifies it in a way that it can never be taken away. So be slow to speak. Go back to the plan. If you don't have a plan, my goodness, there's so much that you will be missing. So, emotional intelligence is like when you throw something out of anger, or you throw something out of you're in a rush to do something and it is not carefully crafted, you've not set the right foundation, you've thrown a grenade. It does damage. It does damage that can be felt for years, to the people around you, to yourself. We're all walking around with emotional wounds that we speak not of. But when you have sat down and finally crafted, finally tuned, understood yourself, decided on the journey, decided on the path, decided on who's coming with you, how long it should take you to get there, it's like a missile. Because when you release it, it has a specific target, and whatever you have released it to do, you will achieve. So decide whether you want to just keep throwing grenades all over the place, or whether you want to be seen as the person who is refined, who is determined, who is strategic, who understands where they want to go, and who gives people a chance. It just depends on what your perspective is. To some people, EQ may not be important, but as Joseph said, we're in the people business. Life is people. You cannot, no man is an island. So please understand that. And I'm going to go back to something that Joseph said. He said finish well. I usually say leave honorably. When you're exiting a job, you're exiting a relationship, you're exiting a season, do it with honor. There's a prayer that I pray about the relationships in my life. I say, Lord, protect this relationship, and when it is time, allow the person to exit gracefully into their future, and allow me to remain gracefully and release them graciously, so that I can go on to be successful in what I need to. Because as you're holding on to people and you're gathering all this animosity and negativity, it's holding you down, it's pulling you back. So that's what I would say about emotional intelligence. My parting shot: you are not a mistake. You are here on purpose. You are here by design. God has a plan for you. You are loved and you are enough.
Wow. Honestly, I am so thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I will borrow Jackie's comment as we wrap up. Best way to spend lunch. Jackie, it was great to have you, and I'm really happy that you spent your lunch with us. Emily, thank you so much for joining us today and for the amazing nuggets you brought. Joe, Joseph, thank you so much for joining us today. We've really learned so much from everything you've shared, and we've loved your energy. Sharon, oh my goodness, thank you so much for dropping all those amazing insights you've dropped. It's always so great to learn from those who are younger than you, who just have really amazing insight into the world. So thank you all. To everyone who joined us today, thank you for joining us. I know for a fact that you found something to take away today. And so say goodbye until last Wednesday of every month. We'll be back. Now, thank you everyone for joining us.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.